Ever since I first saw Paul Romano's Remission artwork, that record artwork was my favourite artwork of that whole decade. I've had posters of that artwork on my wall for years. I loved Mastodon from the start and felt a real connection to them. Amazingly, by some strange force of nature, in the last few years I'd ended up connecting with Brian, and he'd invited me to work on t-shirt designs for them, which was absolutely phenomenal. You know, that was a dream come true in itself, more than I would ever ask for. I'd ended up sort of inadvertently doing some record art for them. They used my White Walker artwork for a 7-inch release. When Brent first emailed me with the idea of doing the Cold Dark Place record cover art, he had a really clear vision in mind of what he wanted it to be. I think it's the most fully realised concept I've been given, you know, when it comes to a record cover.
As far as it comes with my direction.
The amount of detail and focus and
given
understanding what those things are.
This fact that I'm not a big emailer.
Yeah, I got a lot. He had this incredible vision, very specific, of this character who represented an older version of himself being inside this cold, dark woodland, inside a cabin with a candle upon a skull on a table in a window that was visible through a passage of trees, and the trees around the cabin were turning into evil hands surrounding him. And somewhere then, within the top of the trees, they were also forming into a blackened heart.
I felt bad, I was making you draw too much.
But at the end, you know, here's the thing, like usually with, someone will come up with a really vague idea and be like, yeah, something like this, do your thing, you know, and then I'll go through a bunch of shit and kind of figure something out. But your idea was really specific.
Yeah.
I wanted to fully respect that, and I could tell how passionate he was about the record, so I wanted to make that real and try and fulfill that vision that he had. With any project, the starting point for me is finding good reference points to inspire me. This old abandoned car claimed by nature. It's great, isn't it? I started to look into mythology and folklore, and thinking about people like Arthur Rackham, Ivan Bilibin, who illustrate a lot of the Russian mythology and folklore. They'd really represent a human character on a journey through a fantasy world. And the other thing was looking into Japanese folklore and things like Hiroshige. He was known for his landscapes. There's one particular one that struck me where he painted an old warrior. You know, he was sort of in retirement in this house, in this landscape of a forest of trees, but he was haunted by the spirits of all the people he'd killed in battle. So all of the trees, they were visually turning into skeletons and skulls. It's a fantasy world depicting a real feeling and this sort of torment. Brent's character sitting in this cabin, feeling isolated. All the roots have grown over it, the doorway has been overgrown, and it starts to tell this extended story, which is what I always try to do. The colour scheme of it was something which went very much against what I'm used to doing. You know, I think I usually go for warm colours, and Brent insisted that he really wanted it blue, he wanted it to just look as cold as possible, and I'd send it to him, and in my mind it was blue, but he'd be like, why is it not blue?
I sent you this one message, I was like, listen.
It had the word G's in it.
I sent a G's.
I thought it was blue, so I'd be like, okay, I'm going to pile in some more blue.
With Mastodon, the art is integral. You know? I just want people to get lost in it, you know, like I want to get lost in it.
That's such an important part of what they do. It's impossible to think of any of their records separate from the artwork. It's the whole world that's built up around it. And purely as a testament to how important it is to those guys, you know, they'll always recruit artists who they think are going to fulfill the vision they have for that record. And every record is a journey in itself. And they need that visual representation, which people can then scratch the surface and get into the record. And that's really what it's about. It's an honour to be asked to create that image and lead them through the door.